Power, influence, armies at your command, and then, bam, you're branded a heretic, burned at the stake. That's the story of Jacques de Molay, the last Grand Master of the Knights Templar.
Talk about a fall from grace, huh?
It's a wild ride, and that's what we're diving into today, the world of the Knights Templar. Mystery, intrigue. From humble beginnings protecting pilgrims to becoming this, financial powerhouse.
It's a story for the ages.
So, first things first, for anyone who needs a refresher, who are these Knights Templar? Warrior monks, but there's got to be more to it.
Oh, there's definitely more. They started during the Crusades, protecting pilgrims on their way to the Holy Land. But get this, they didn't stay simple guards. They evolved into a major military force. And not just that, a financial powerhouse, too. Serious influence in the medieval world.
They were like a medieval multinational corporation, but with swords and faith instead of spreadsheets.
That's a great way to put it. They created a whole banking system, letters of credit for pilgrims, managing huge estates all over Europe.
Which ironically plays a role in their downfall, right?
You could say that. Money and power. Always a dangerous mix.
Speaking of powerful figures, let's talk about Jacques de Molay, the last Grand Master. His story, it just grabs you. What kind of man was he?
Imagine seeing your world crumble. That's what happened to de Molay. He saw the fall of Acre, the last Crusader stronghold in the Holy Land. He joined the Templars young, worked his way up, became Grand Master. But that loss of Acre, it fueled him. He was determined to take back the Holy Land.
That's got to be a turning point in anyone's life. To see your whole mission, everything you believe in, just gone.
Absolutely. After Acre fell, de Molay spent years trying to get the European monarchs on board for another crusade, but nobody was really feeling it after that defeat.
So what did he do? Just give up?
De Molay, give up. Not a chance. He starts launching these smaller raids against the Mamluks, the Muslim rulers in Egypt. He wanted to prove that they could still win, rekindle that crusading spirit, but things didn't exactly go to plan.
Sounds like a persistent guy. But, we know this is where things take a dark turn. What happens?
Well, this is where King Philip IV of France enters the picture. He wasn't a fan of the Templars' growing influence, and he was also strapped for cash.
Uh-oh. I sense trouble brewing.
You got it. Philip sees an opportunity, get rid of a rival, and take all their sweet, sweet wealth.
Classic power grab. Greed never goes out of style, does it?
Sadly, no. So Philip, being a master manipulator, starts putting pressure on Pope Clement V. The Pope was basically his puppet at this point.
Okay, now it's getting really shady.
Right. And then come the accusations. Heresy, blasphemy, worshiping the devil. It was a full-blown smear campaign to take the Templars down.
It's crazy how quickly they went from protectors of the faith to public enemy number one. So what about Jacques de Molay? Did he just stand by and let this happen?
He fought back, of course, but Philip had him arrested, along with tons of other Templars. Made up evidence, forced confessions. He twisted the whole thing to make them look like enemies of Christianity.
What a betrayal. So how does this all end for de Molay? Is he able to clear his name?
Well, he's imprisoned and tortured for years. Under that kind of pressure, he confesses to some of the charges, but later takes it back, says he's innocent. The whole trial was a farce, completely orchestrated by Philip.
This is just heartbreaking. Knowing what's coming makes it even harder to hear. So tell us, what was the end for de Molay?
In 1314, they condemn him as a heretic, sentence him to burn at the stake. He faces it with incredible bravery, though, maintains his innocence until his very last breath. They burn him on an island in the Seine, right within sight of Notre Dame Cathedral. That's how the last Grand Master of the Knights Templar met his end.
What a tragic ending for a man who dedicated his life to his order and his faith. It makes you wonder, was there any truth to those accusations?
Most historians agree no. It was all about Philip. He wanted their money and their power. He was a master at using people's religious beliefs to manipulate them, turn the public against the very knights who had protected them.
And the irony of it all is that both Pope Clement and King Philip die within a year of de Molay's execution. Makes you think, doesn't it? Divine retribution, maybe.
It's definitely a strange coincidence. Whether it was divine intervention or just bad luck, those deaths happening so soon after the Templars were wiped out, well, it fueled a lot of speculation, and some of those conspiracy theories are still around today.
So we've covered the origins of the Knights Templar, the fall of Acre, de Mollay's rise and tragic fall. What stands out to you about this part of their history?
It's how it all comes together, the military power, the religious devotion, the political scheming. They were these humble protectors of pilgrims, but then they become this major force, both in warfare and finance. And in the end, they get caught in the web of medieval politics. It's a recipe for disaster.
It really is Shakespearean, isn't it? Ambition, betrayal, the thirst for power. But of course, this is just one side of the story. We've talked about the official narrative, the one Philip IV wanted everyone to believe. But there's another side, a darker, more mysterious side. All those whispers about secrets, hidden
Oh,
societies.
yes. The conspiracy theories, the Templars as victims, maybe even guardians of some secret knowledge.
Exactly. And that's what we're going to dig into next. The legacy of the Knights Templar, how they've impacted popular culture, and of course, all those captivating conspiracy theories that still swirl around them. Stick with us as we journey deeper into the world of the Knights Templar.
It's amazing, isn't it? Centuries after they were wiped out, and the Knights Templar still capture people's imaginations.
It's true. Holy Grail, hidden treasures, secret societies. They've almost become mythical figures. What are some of those big conspiracy theories that people love to talk about?
Well, the Holy Grail is a big one. That idea that they found it during their time in Jerusalem and guarded it in secret, passed it down through the generations.
Ah, the Holy Grail. The cup Christ used at the Last Supper, said to have all sorts of miraculous powers. That's a classic story. Is there actually any historical evidence linking the Templars to it, though?
Not really, no. It seems to be more from Arthurian legends and romantic literature, not actual history. A great story, but probably not something the Templars were actually involved in.
So the Grail connection is more fiction than fact. What about other theories? Why are people so obsessed with the Templars?
Well, another popular one is that they amassed this secret treasure. Not just gold and silver, but ancient artifacts, maybe even forbidden knowledge.
Okay, now that sounds like an Indiana Jones movie. Secret Templar treasure just waiting to be discovered. Is there anything to that theory?
It's a bit like the Holy Grail thing, no real evidence, just a lot of speculation. I think it's partly because they were so wealthy and their fall was so sudden. People want there to be more to the story, I guess.
It's like people can't accept that such a powerful order could just be, taken down by a political scheme.
Right. It creates this historical mystery that people want to solve.
Speaking of mysteries, some theories say the Templars had secret knowledge that was dangerous, threatening to the established order. That's why they were persecuted.
Yeah, some people believe they were more enlightened than the church gave them credit for, that maybe they made scientific discoveries or had different spiritual practices, and the church, along with the ruling elite, wanted to silence them.
So in these theories, the Templars aren't the bad guys. They're the free thinkers, the ones ahead of their time, who get crushed by this massive conspiracy.
That's one way to look at it. It definitely adds a layer of intrigue to the story, doesn't it? Makes you question who is really pulling the strings.
It's incredible how one group can inspire so many different interpretations, even centuries later. It shows how powerful their story really is.
It's a mix of history, myth, and intrigue. And it touches on these universal themes of power, faith, betrayal. It's no wonder people are still talking about the Templars today.
We've talked about the history, the conspiracy theories, but I think it's time to dive into how the Templars have influenced pop culture. They're everywhere. Books, movies, video games, even music. What are some of the most notable examples?
Well, they've almost become stock characters in historical fiction and adventure stories. They're the noble warriors, the guardians of secrets.
It's true. I mean, you've got everything from the Da Vinci Code to Assassin's Creed. That image of the Templar as a skilled warrior, someone with hidden knowledge, it just resonates with people. Why do you think that is?
I think it's partly the mystique, the secrecy that surrounds them. It doesn't matter if they're heroes or villains in the story. They just add this element of, well, coolness. And their visual style is striking, too.
Oh, yeah. That white mantle with the red cross.
Yeah.
You instantly know who they are. It's become synonymous with chivalry and bravery and that sense of mystery.
Exactly. That Templar imagery has been used and reused in so many ways. It's both a symbol of history and a great tool for storytelling.
It's pretty remarkable how an order founded in the 12th century still has this kind of impact on us. It really shows the power of history, myth, and the human imagination, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The Knights Templar are a perfect example of how the past isn't really gone. It continues to shape us in ways we may not even realize.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, what are the big takeaways you hope our listeners will remember?
First, the Templars were a product of their time. A really interesting mix of military power, religious devotion, and financial savvy. They played a big part in the Crusades, and they left their mark on the medieval world.
They weren't just warriors. They were really good at administration, finance. They helped shape early banking systems in Europe, and their organization influenced later military orders.
That's right. And their downfall. It was this complicated mix of politics, religious tensions, and economic factors. It shows that power can be a double-edged sword. Even the strongest institutions can be brought down by ambition and betrayal.
And of course, we can't forget how much the Templars have captured people's imaginations. Their story keeps being told and retold, and it makes us question the narratives we're given.
It speaks to the power of storytelling, for sure, and the allure of mystery. The Knights Templar remind us that history isn't just facts and dates. It's also about stories, legends, and unanswered questions.
Their legacy is this blend of fact and fiction. It makes us think critically, explore different points of view, and appreciate how complex history really is.
Well said. The Knights Templar offer a glimpse into this fascinating period, and their story still speaks to us all these centuries later.
For anyone who wants to learn more, there are tons of resources out there, scholarly articles, historical novels. There's something for everyone.
And remember, when you're diving into the world of the Templars, keep an open mind, question what you read, and embrace the mystery.
And be sure to join us next time for another deep dive into a fascinating historical topic. We'll keep exploring the hidden stories that have shaped our world and hopefully get you thinking about the past in new ways. We've covered the history, the conspiracies, but I think what sticks with people most about the Templars is their imagery, those symbols. It goes beyond just a history lesson, doesn't it?
You're right, it does. It's powerful stuff. Think about that image, that white mantle with the red cross. It represents something bigger than the order itself.
Exactly. You see it everywhere, not just in history books. Tattoos, clothes, even company logos use that Templar imagery. Why do you think it's so enduring?
I think it boils down to the ideals it represents. Things like chivalry, courage, self-sacrifice. Those resonate with people even if they don't know much about the Templars themselves.
It's like they've become these almost mythical figures. They represent that struggle between good and evil, light and darkness that we see in stories throughout history.
Exactly. And the thing is, the Templars themselves embody that duality, which makes them so fascinating. Warriors and monks, protectors and seekers, violence and faith, power and spirituality. They held all of that. It's a complicated mix.
It's like their story taps into something deep within us. That fascination with secret forces, good versus evil, the people fighting for what's right. It's a universal theme.
You're right, it is. And their narrative speaks to our hopes and our fears. It reminds us that fighting for what you believe in isn't easy, and there's always the risk of betrayal. And on a personal level, it makes us ask, what would I do in that situation?
It's a pretty powerful question to consider. So looking back at everything we've discussed, what are the biggest takeaways you want listeners to remember about the Knights Templar, both historically and in terms of their legacy?
Well, there are a few key points. One, even the most powerful institutions can be vulnerable to corruption. The Templars were betrayed by those they trusted, and it's a reminder that unchecked ambition is dangerous, no matter how strong you think you are.
A good lesson for any time period, really. Power needs to be checked, and people in authority need to be held accountable.
Absolutely. And their story also shows the power of ideas and symbols. The Templar Order was destroyed, yes, but their image and those ideals, they live on. Art, literature, pop culture, their influence is everywhere.
It's like their spirit transcends time. Their legacy is still pushing us to think critically about the world.
And finally, and this is really important given how they were taken down, the Templars remind us to always seek truth and question authority. They were victims of lies and propaganda. It's a reminder to be skeptical, dig deeper, look for different viewpoints, and don't just blindly accept what you're told.
Especially in today's world, where we're bombarded with information from all sides, being a critical thinker is more important than ever.
No doubt about it. The Knights Templar, with all their complexity and mystery, they give us this incredible lens to view history, myth, and even our own human nature. It's a story that forces us to confront the dark side of things, but also to keep searching for the light.
That's a fantastic way to put it. Thank you so much for sharing your insights on the Knights Templar with us. I know our listeners are going to find this fascinating.
It's been my pleasure. And to everyone listening, keep exploring this topic. There's always more to discover, more to question, more to learn.
And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to The Deep Dive for more explorations of history and the legacies that continue to shape our world. Until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep discovering.